Well, thank you very much. Really nice to be here talking about data and transparency. So I'm going to be discussing about how this enters into the pension reform discussion currently in Chile. But to do that, I need to put some background. So I had to kind of give you a background on our 1981 pension reform and our second important reform, that 2008. So you could have the panorama for what's the context for our current discussion and what are the problems we have and the kind of things that we are trying to solve with this, where these ideas could be helpful. So very quickly, the 1981 pension reform is very known because it introduced a more radical reform. So basing the pension system only in individual accounts. This replaced the old pay-as-you-go system in Chile. So yes, let me add that it was very, the fiscal cost of this transition from one system to the other it was very huge. 140% of the GDP is estimated in present value, and we are still paying that. So pension reforms are very costly. And this is the kind of things that are very scary, right? When we are discussing modifications. So I guess I cannot move. Okay. When there is this 2008 reform, 2008 reform is the other important reform we made. This came first in the Bachelet, President Bachelet's administration, the first term he got. This is the 81. So she appointed a presidential commission, a presidential advisory council. The chairman of that commission is the current Minister of Finance, Claudia Sangüesa's boss, right? And I was part of that commission too, 15 people. Very important at that time was new evidence we got from this new longitudinal data, the Social Protection Survey, that documented all the gaps and discontinuities in contribution history of people. We didn't have individual data on that. So that survey was very important and provide a lot of evidence that was used by this 15 people group. And this was the source for the reform in 2008. Very, very important was the fact that in this advisory council, there was a strong agreement based on facts. I mean, it seemed that the individual accounts strategy was important, giving good incentives, but it was not enough for poverty relief and for all the reality that we found empirically in the labor market. So this commission proposed the creation of a non-contributory solidarity pension and other strategy to tackle the problem of high administrative costs. And it was a very important reform. This was a solidarity pension for the 60 lower income people, 60% of the lower income people, financed through taxes. One important thing is with this reform, after this reform in 2008, the pension system in Chile now is can be characterized as an individual account system plus this non-contributory pension system. So it's kind of a mix the strategy, and on a certain way, it start looking more like a pension system. So this is the recent pension discussion. 5 minutes. Oh, so I need still have 20? No. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. So I have to run here. Okay. So what happened? Then came the second commission that I was the chairman of that commission in 2014. We tried to look at all the unfinished business that the 2008 reform left. There were several challenges: low pension benefits, a lot of gender inequalities, lack of knowledge of people from the pension system, and a lot of growing hostility towards the AFP system. So all this came out, implied a lot of challenges. And we didn't have a consensus within the commission at that time, but we kind of agreed in that the strategy was definitely not coming back to the old pay-as-you-go system, and certainly not coming back to the 1981. So we had to strengthen whatever we had. So this is what happened next. 2017, President Bachelet, but in the last months of her government, sent a proposal for pension reform after we delivered this report in 2015. With a few months to finish, it was impossible to have an agreement. Then came a new administration, President Piñera's proposal in 2018, and then in 2022, the current administration, President Gabriel Boric. So the problem is we have 3 governments, 3 different party coalitions in this government, 3 different opposition groups. Until now, we haven't been successful on going through this. Of course, we have in the middle the pandemics, some other events, and very quickly. So November 8, 2022, the current administration sent its proposal to pension reform Congress. In November 10, so a couple of days later, we wrote an op-ed, like what you were showing. And in November 16, 22 centers signed a letter addressed to the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Labor, I mean, all those involved in the discussion. And we were requesting data and reproducibility in the technical reports because we saw that this was a way to this time try to be successful. This is the letter we sent. It's in Spanish, sorry. And the emphasis. These are the 22 centers. Well, BITS is up there. It's alphabetic order. Thanks for sharing this, BITS. I mean, it's very important for us, your involvement. And I need help with the. Thanks. What was the response? The government response was immediate. When I say immediate, this is immediate, right? The next day, we send the email to all these authorities. I receive a response. So we start organizing some technical workshops with all the researchers, people interested from these centers. New open microdata was released. And this was happening in January and February. A few weeks ago was the last stuff they they put open. Documentation that has been also elaborated specifically for this request. So this is very important. I'm very grateful for what the government has been doing in this initiative. They have opened a direct line for researchers. So in these 90 seconds to interact with the technical government counterparts. We still are in the middle of the process. There are still a lot of things that we need to solve. Pension reform is probably one of the most complicated pieces of legislation to start an open analysis, open policy analysis. Pension reform requires projection of effects of 50, 70 years. So it's very complicated. But this is kind of the incidents we have had until now. February is our summer. So I'm just coming from the summer, and recess in the Congress. So March now we are retaking the discussion in the Congress. So people, this is a piece from yesterday, right? So people at the newspaper, they are talking about the centers, right? That they require to know the models used by the government and all the stuff. So it is hoped that this effort would be useful for the discussion that we will start March and later. So we have several things to do. One thing I would like to mention is, I guess we need to set up a repository with information, for example, and try to conduct some specific analysis. So we could, in the discussion, try to put differences between different proposals. It would be very nice for us to have the help of BITS on this process. Thank you very much.